I'm talking to Linda Atherton-Miles, Director of Cummins Business Services for Europe and Africa. Linda, talk to me about global partnerships at Cummins Business Services.
Okay, Cummins Business Services has got a strategy of working with global partners where their capability and their global reach is greater than our own. So, for example, we use HCL for our help desk services globally. We use ADP for our payroll services globally. We don't hire our own people. We use Prudential for our employee mobility and expat moves. We don't do that internally. We use American Express for travel. These are just examples where we don't have that capability internally, so we use a strategy of global partnering. And we look down every year at our global services and say, is this something that we have capability and global reach in, or should we be looking for a partner company? I think the partnership with KPIT Cummins is a slightly different arrangement. We've been working with KPIT Cummins in a joint venture capacity for quite a number of years. And we are an internal shared service centre, so our capability of acquiring work from other companies is limited because we're seen as an internal Cummins shared services. So it's really part of Cummins' overall strategy of leveraging complementary businesses within the Cummins family to add extra value to Cummins shareholders. So our partnership with KPIT Cummins allows us to transfer some of our financial and accounting work to KPIT Cummins and to help them build their capability so that they can become a true BPO organisation and attract work from other companies, which we would be unable to do. And that will bring Cummins an increased shareholding in the joint venture and an increased profit sharing for the shareholders. So it's a great business strategy for Cummins to have.
Linda, we were talking earlier about transactional pricing and the way it drives behavioural changes. Elaborate a little bit on that for me.
I think that's one of the great things that Cummins Business Services are doing within Cummins. We price all our services. We understand the cost of each service that we provide, and we charge the businesses on volume usage, so they pull the services from us, and we charge them per component for each service. And we charge a global price. It's the same price in India and China as it is in the US and the UK, because as Cummins Business Services, we want to drive where our services are delivered from, rather than the businesses wanting to push the work to the cheapest location. That can sometimes bring us difficulties where we're working with joint venture partners, where we're perhaps not the managing partner and they are reluctant to use our services because they're more expensively priced than a local provider. And that's one of the challenges that we've got to navigate. Okay? But since we've been doing transactional based services, that's probably around the last 3 to 4 years, it's driven a huge change in behaviour within the Cummins businesses once they can see and understand the cost and what they're being charged for. We've done a number of projects that have driven down costs in the numbers of laptops that people use, the number of cell phones that people have, how they use that equipment. And we're currently working on an email management project where we're showing people how much it costs to have huge email accounts. Keep attachments that you don't really need, because that costs storage space on our servers, and servers are expensive and have to be replaced, and you need more servers the more email people have. So we're putting in some tools and some practices to teach people how they can detach attachments, how they can still find their documents but not keep that amount of email sitting on our servers. I think one of the interesting things about Cummins Business Services is that we do have IT in our shared service centre, which is not a standard service that's in most shared services. And that always surprises me, because the dollar spend within IT infrastructure is huge, and the capacity to make savings in that spend is also huge. And I think one of the great things that Cummins has done is brought that into the shared service centre, and using the global partner strategy, we have driven down the cost of IT within Cummins by an enormous amount.
Linda, talk to me about the success Cummins have had with IT shared services.
One of the things that Cummins Business Services does to develop people And we've primarily done that within the IT organisation so far, is to send people on short-term assignments to other regions and other locations to do their same job, so that we build a more globalised service. And I think within IT services we have the most global organisation of all of our services.
Linda, finally, give me your pennyworth on the future of shared services.
I think that in the future, I think in the next 5 to 8 years, I think that will out the lazy shared service centres, the ones who have just sent work to India or to China or to other low-cost locations without doing any improvements, just to get the labour arbitrage. And I think that the globalisation will bring an equalisation, more or less, of salaries. I think there will be no low-cost countries in the future. And I think those companies who have gone the traditional shared services approach of standardising, of improving, of automating their services will be the winners, whereas the lazy companies will be no place, basically.
Linda, thanks a lot.